Do you know what obesity is?
When someone is considered overweight, usually about 20% overweight, there's a normal person will have what is called a body mass index, which is known as a BMI, but oftentimes people aren't their ideal BMI. Body mass index is basically, it's a number, like a score, that tells you with your weight and your height what score you get, and there's an ideal. So for me the ideal might be 26, but a person whose BMI is, let's say, a 30 or a 35, that means that they're too heavy for their height, which means that they're considered obese, and that is usually 20% above the ideal BMI.
Yeah, I've heard of this because mine is maybe 20.9.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so somewhere around there.
Yeah. And would you consider it as a problem, as a sickness?
Yes. In Australia, the current statistics say that anywhere up to half of our country, our nation, is considered obese. Or there'll be a percentage that is considered overweight, but then from overweight to obese, it's another percentage along. I can't remember the exact percentages, but there is a distinction between being overweight and being obese.
Because I read that, in Australia, it's generally quite a large part of the adult population.
Yes.
Who are just between borderline overweight.
Yeah. Whereas in the young people of Australia, the youth, there is an increasing problem with obesity.
Well, I think maybe is it to do with junk food or?
It's a combination of lots of junk food, fast foods, and lack of exercise. Today, lots of young people, for their recreation, will play PlayStation games and use the internet and lots of different things that don't actually require them to be physically active. And so they're getting their recreation, but they're not getting their activity every day. So as a result, the body puts on weight, because food is like energy, and if that energy isn't spent through activity, then it is stored in the body as what is called adipose tissue, which is fat tissue.
Okay, all right, I've learned something. So what would you say is the best way for overweight people to start losing weight? I mean, apart from dieting and all that.
Their physical activity needs to increase dramatically. For the average overweight person, they would need to be involved in 60 minutes, anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise every day for them to start losing that weight. And they would need to adjust their diet as well. Yeah. Yeah. So in Australia, the government has recognised that there is a problem with obesity. And obviously the effects of obesity on the nation is that lots of money gets spent on the medical system that could be spent on other things, because we're dealing with heart diseases, knee reconstructions, lots of things that are associated with weight. And so the government in the health department has actually developed what is called the National Physical Activity Guidelines, the NPAG. And those guidelines are broken up into 3 different categories: for children, for youth and adults. And they give a set of guidelines that the average citizen should follow for their physical activity. And part of those guidelines is actually aimed at bringing the obesity percentage down. So if you look on the internet for the National Physical Activity Guidelines of Australia, you'll find lots of information on that website.
All right. And do you think dieting or, quick fix like drugs, etc., do they work?
Anything that, when it comes to weight loss, if the results are quick, it usually means that they can be reversed just as quickly. So if someone can lose 5 kilos in a week, they can put that 5 kilos back on in a week. Whereas if you lose weight through, just changing your diet, changing your eating patterns and your physical activity, it will take longer to lose the weight, but you will have successfully really taken it off your body, and so you won't put it on as quickly if you were to stop, being healthy and active.
Right.
Yeah. Lots of the time, the drugs that cause people to lose weight actually act as almost dehydrating the body, because they might make the person go to the toilet quite a lot, and losing all the fluid from their body. Because if you lose your body is 80 to 85% water, and so if you lose lots of water, on the scales it will say that you've lost 5 kilos. But then if you stop taking whatever drug it is, you're drinking normally through the week, your body will rehydrate, and you'll have immediately put that 5 kilos back on. So it's not really losing weight.
All right. So it's more like a temporary.
Correct.
All right. And what do you think is generally what should the public do? As in, like, do you think if there's has there been enough publicity given to this issue?
There is an increasing publicity of it, but it still needs to be better. There's lots more that can be done to publicise it.
But and one more thing is, generally with people who become obese, like we can't exactly tell them that they're obese or anything, but what could you do to change that?
Well, I think part of the problem in Australia is that people are very offended if someone tells them that they're obese.
Yeah.
So even if a doctor tells someone that they're overweight, they oftentimes will be offended at it. And so I think what needs to happen is a large-scale publicity of the effects of it, because I think by informing people of the effects that an unhealthy lifestyle can have, and what their obesity is actually doing to their insides, to their heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, those kind of things, people might have a greater motivation to do something about it. Because one of the big problems is people don't have the motivation to change their lifestyle, because an overweight person has developed that problem, their obesity, through being lazy. And so for them to change that actually means they will have to put in some effort, and it will be hard work. And, if someone's had a lifestyle of being lazy, the idea of doing lots of hard work to change their life isn't that appealing. It takes lots of motivation. And that motivation oftentimes will be actually informing them of the risks that they're facing.
So basically, actually, we can't exactly directly tell them. We have to tell them
We have to educate them.
Yeah, right.
Rather than point the finger at them and tell them what their problem is, they need to be educated about the effect of being overweight, and they will be able to draw the connections and realise that they are one of those people that is at risk.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. One more thing is, like,